Yeah, when I do like I'm going to do a couple screen shares today, but
Mhm.
the video comes through so choppy, and even when it uploads completely, it still seems like it's like choppy. But then you'll see like one of my podcasts I liked is Part of the Problem, and if you watch it, screen shares are like flawless.
Mhm.
Like I think he's using Zoom. It's like here I am using Riverside, but which I really enjoy. It makes it a whole lot easier. Like the editing's easy.
Yeah.
And then this new thing they put on here like a week ago, the AI, it's like some AI thing. But if you say the word, like if you're like, dude, do not, I said the F word, can you change it to like something else? I can change it like in the script and it'll change your mouth.
Yeah,
That's wild. That's too
there's
much. That's almost too much for me.
there's a new segment line of computers that Microsoft came out with. They're called Copilot PCs,
Oh, good. I've seen Copilot, or I've seen it on the TV. I don't know much about it.
and like Copilot is like ChatGPT on fucking steroids, right?
Is it really?
So I could go into Copilot and say, "Hey, make me a comparison chart between the Biden-Harris campaign and the Trump Vance
Yeah.
campaign, right?"
Yeah.
And I could just type it in, and it would literally give me a comparison chart of the things.
Holy crap.
And or I could go, I want to be on keto. Make me a meal plan for a week, and it would just like.
Like
But
real quick. You know what's so funny? Yeah, go ahead.
there's a the video conferencing thing. It will literally you know how if you're on a Zoom call or like a Teams call,
Mm.
there's a bunch of people and you're talking to a specific person. You're typically
Sure.
looking in a corner or some random place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The AI makes it so your eyes are looking straight at the camera regardless of
No,
where
that's
you're.
wild.
And I'm
That's
just like,
wild.
God damn.
Yeah, that's wild,
Yeah,
man.
it's a lot.
Yeah, that's almost too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm like, I'll just keep drinking apple juice. I ain't buying that.
Not my cup of tea. I know you see all these new like AI. So funny is I was interested in how many bombs were dropped by presidents, and so I subscribed to ChatGPT, but I have like the updated version. It made me a solid graph with numbers and everything.
Yeah,
I've been getting. Sorry, I'm going to eat. I'm just hungry.
I'm drinking. You're eating. It's all good.
I've been just really learning how to use it better and more effectively instead of like using it like Siri.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, here, tell me, like when I talk to it, I type like I'm talking to it, and it's got
Mm-hmm.
way more information and scope than just Siri does. But dude, I did want to talk about. So we got obviously this completely insane election cycle, which now more than ever I feel like is kind of being obviously controlled by the media and like Google and Facebook. I have not seen any Trump ads. I've been watching the Olympics on and off, and I just see Harris ads.
Do you know whose content I've seen the most?
Who's?
Outside of the joy bullshit, the buzzword
Yeah,
that
yeah,
not that thing. We'll get to that later.
yeah. That nonsense.
It's in Vance. It's in JD Vance.
Yeah, you know what? I just kind of saw. I followed everyone on. I follow everyone on Twitter. Like I follow Kamala. I follow the new guy Waltz, and which that's a whole crazy conversation. But yeah, I see Vance is like out there. Like Trump is. I don't know. I'm hoping he's not getting the Biden syndrome.
I think that the black national journalist thing that he got
Oh
that
yeah,
he
yeah, in Chicago.
so there was a quote from him in that where
Oh
he
boy.
said, "Well, he's right, but so far it's
He's
proven
Trumpian.
no. He's
Oh
right, but
yeah,
so far, and it's super early, right? The DNC hasn't
yeah,
even happened." He
right.
goes, "You're voting for the president. The vice presidential candidates are usually an afterthought. If
True.
you poll a bunch of people, and you're talking about just random people, not people that pay attention, just like a dude on
Yeah,
the street.
yeah,
Hey, who's the president? Joe Biden. Who's the vice president? I don't know, right?
yeah,
But if you look at now,
Yeah, everything's so.
There's a like whoever runs the best referendum campaign against the other person is going to win.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
I think that Kamala Harris fucked up. She fucked
Why do
up
you think so? Why do you think so?
because Waltz is a far left Democrat that wants to act like a moderate, and he is not that.
Yeah, you know what's wild is I saw a PolitiFact with, and again, I want to be able to like trust all this stuff, and I don't know, but it did put him left, but not super left. But then you look at some of the stuff that he had going on in Minnesota. Was it Minnesota? Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's like the whole place is on fire, and there's tampons in the boys' bathroom, and
He
like,
raised
what do you?
taxes, and he's giving shit
Yeah.
away free, and he wants to take your guns. I heard a speech by him to where he was
Hey,
like,
dude.
"What's up, Scott?"
We're talking about the new guy, Kamala's new guy.
He
Like,
the little bit of dialogue. There's an echo. The little bit of dialogue that I saw from him, like he was talking about how his military record and everything like that, and how he used these certain segment of weapons that he will guarantee people won't have access to. And I'm like, that's not very moderate sounding, bud.
yeah, that's like a no-go for. That's what I'm saying is like that's a kind of a, and that we'll get to that. Another segment I want to talk about is Kyle Rittenhouse, that whole thing where he came out and said he was going to write in Ron Paul, and then a MAGA was, jumped all over him. There's a lot of feedback coming from you, Scotty boy.
He was a MAGA poster child 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Still feedback?
Yeah, it's like your mic isn't plugged in. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's almost like a Randy. What's his name from American Idol? It's a no from me, dog.
It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no from me, dog. Yeah, I've seen some pictures, and it's like, you know what, man? Honestly, he is like the Democratic version of JD Vance. Kind of a weird dude from of left,
25 years older.
Which is another huge thing, right? Because we are going to start needing some younger politicians that know like what's going on. I still have not read Hillbilly Elegy. I mean, I know there's a movie. I guess I could just watch it, but yeah, I just think it's meaningless. And here's another thing too: is like Kamala Harris is right now. She's like campaign. We don't really know what any of her policies are, like at all. They're not listed on her websites. She just says like she spouts off random stuff, like I'm going to do this and this, but like without really any clue how.
Joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah. What, Joy Reid?
No, joy. That's the buzzword of her campaign is joy.
Oh, I know. I thought you were talking about Joy Reid. I was like, yeah, has anyone checked to make sure she's okay? Yeah, I know. And it's like there's no substance to it. And but the thing is, she's still vice president. So like, why don't we just take care of the border now? You're supposed to be the border person. That's what regardless of what word you want to use, if you want to use border czar or whatever, he puts you in.
It's a dumb fucking name because I always think in the movie Traffic with Michael Douglas how he was a drug czar and that shit. So well, his daughter was a fucking thrill fiend, dude.
Yeah, like he's but that's the thing is like that was her area of operation, and she has done little to nothing, and I don't think she's even visited the border where it matters, and then now she's campaigning on it. And I did save once. I want to hear kind of Scott's thoughts on it, so I'll play that video in a minute. But she was at her latest rally, and this is a huge problem for the left too. She's being heckled by pro-Palestinian protesters. And that's the thing. I don't think that's why she didn't take Shapiro.
She should have
taken Shapiro.
100%.
Taken and they didn't because I mean, right? That's just my thought. And you're absolutely right in your thought process. Like, these VP picks don't really make any difference. It's just literally like if someone gets really actually Donald Trumped, like they almost killed him, then you got to have somebody there. But in all reality, like I'm not really sure what Kamala did as a vice president, and I honestly I don't know what Joe Biden did as a vice president. So it's like
I don't remember. Like, so we're in real time with Kamala, but
yeah,
I don't remember. The only thing about Joe Biden being the vice president is all the memes of Obama looking at him crazy. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I would forget that.
Okay, so being the president of the Senate. Sorry, I'm looking this up while we're talking.
Yeah, but how many people know the vice president is the president of the Senate?
I mean, I guess people who are pretty connected. He breaks a tie, obviously. So if there's a tie in a vote, which could help the president pass something through. But
like, do you know who the most prominent vice president, if you look at optics and involvement, is the last 20 years? Pence.
Yeah.
Dealing with J6. Because he came out and condemned Trump.
Yeah. I think there was there was a whole scheme to just undermine him at every facet of the way. And I think the deep state had Pence. I think obviously Pence was kind of his deep state pick because they were like, hey, listen, we'll play ball, but you got to play ball with us. And this is going to be your vice president. Because like Pence didn't fit at all. Like nothing. Like, it was just a really weird vice president pick. And
I think that he was the control to the experiment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can read, what is the papers? The Pied Piper paper. I don't know why I always say the Pied Piper papers, but it was leaked. Julian Assange leaked them, and it was the whole thing is like, okay, once he gets in here, we're just going to destroy him, because we want that control. We want that power.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're going to have a couple problems. One, Kamala there's a reason and we'll get into that. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. We can get into that right now, actually. She hasn't talked to any... she's taken no pressers. All she's taken is interviews that are controlled. Questions are already given. She knows what to say. She has not been in front of like a press corps that follows her around. Like, I don't know if you saw this today. Well, I don't know if this will even pull up, but let's see.
The DNC's went the 19th.
Yeah, starts the 19th.
We won't hear from her until then.
Which is so wild. Let me see.
Well,
shares.
If you think about it.
Here, look at this. This is such a troll moment. This is JD Vance. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's the static?
I think you sound good.
Okay.
Scott, this is a video today. We were just talking about how Kamala Harris doesn't want to talk to anybody. Oh yeah, you are a dirty capitalist. I thought I should mention that, Scott. As your title says you are.
Nice.
So I was like, you want to talk about the biggest troll in politics right now? JD Vance walked up to Kamala's plane to address the press because she hasn't in 17 days. And she won't take any. I was just telling Ethan this. She will not take any interview that is not scripted, and I don't understand it. So let us just take a look at this. Gindertis. He's just walking up, and he tells him, "This is going to be my plane soon, anyway." So
this dude pulled up with a posse.
I figured and wanted to see a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. But I also thought that might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters?
Has she given you guys any reason? No?
Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that you change your mind, because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
Super based.
I know. Oh, I know.
Damn, now I got to vote for him again.
That's the thing is people are just like, you should see Twitter try to defend it or obviously vilify him. But I'm like, that's based.
Yeah.
Right. I still think he's not the greatest, but that.
Okay,
is
wait.
Hilarious
so Twitter, what Twitter? Are we talking about leftist moron Twitter? Or?
Oh, yes. Well, that's pretty much all I get on Twitter because I get in fights with these people.
Well, that's bad for your health, but okay, yeah.
Because I can't.
That's guerrilla. That's guerrilla tactics.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I agree. I thought I saw the video of it, and I'm like, is that really? He's walking so quick up there, and he's like, "Hey guys, thought you might be lonely up here since she doesn't talk to you. It's a nice plane, isn't it? It's gonna be mine pretty soon. Anyway, I thought you'd like to." It's like, dude, okay.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Kamala, that's another thing. Today, she was at
Okay.
I don't know, but not a presser. What do you call them? Not a convention, a rally. She's at a rally. And I was just telling Ethan that she's going to have a big problem because she's getting heckled by pro-Palestinian. I have the video. Pro-Palestinian protesters were there saying, we won't vote for you because you believe in genocide or something along those lines. And
then why don't you pick the Jew?
Yeah, why didn't you go with Shapiro?
If they hate you already, you might as well just fucking done it.
It says,
I disagreed with Ethan when we talked the day that Biden dropped out, but honestly, now I'm kind of on Ethan's team here that this was probably the dumbest pick that Kamala Harris could have gone with, because all it does is solidify the American people's worry about who she actually is as a candidate and as a politician. We are seeing basically a pander towards the worst parts of her party, the ones that want tampons in the men's bathroom, that let Minneapolis burn to the ground, while they argued over a paperwork mishap or something. There's some kind of like clerical error that prevented the National Guard from going in or whatever.
That's right. There was.
And then I believe his daughter leaked the National Guard's
she did do that
online on Twitter, if I'm correct, so that they could plan around the deployments of the National Guard. I mean, I don't understand it, because as soon as the Republicans start to run an actual campaign, I just think they're going to get destroyed now. If she had gone with a Josh Shapiro or any sort of moderate candidate, then she could kind of hide behind that, use them as like a human shield, basically. But I think she's done now. I don't see how.
It's crazy. You got such a conundrum, right? Because it's like I said last time, she's got all 10 toes in different bodies of water. It's like, we really don't like Israel, but we like Israel, but we want to support Palestine, but we don't like Palestine and then we want this, but we don't want this, but we do, and it's all like that, the whole thing. And that's the whole Shapiro pick, right? Like it reminds me
of a particular person that you go back and forth with on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Who just panders to everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about like how to find our voice for the show. And if we were to do that nonsense, no one would enjoy this content. If we tried to like pretend to be other people just to get like morons as guests on the show, then people who actually want to hear our take would be like, man, this is stupid, like whatever. And that's what she's doing with her campaign, so just stick up for what you believe in.
I have another great video that I'd like to share. I don't believe that we'll have a couple. I found one just for you, Scott, and I really look forward. Yeah, I really look forward to showing you this. Yeah, well, I'm gonna get you. Hopefully, I'm gonna trigger you because it's about dog training and how you're all racists.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to see that one first, or did you want to see a presidential candidate not really understand economics at all? Which one did you want to see first?
God, let's go with the dog training one first.
Okay, dog training. Okay, and just remember, it's a lady, I think, and she looks kind of exactly what you would think she'd look like for everyone listening.
I know what that means. Yeah, I knew that.
Racism with for fuck's sake. Here we go.
So there's this woman that had a cool dog, and my dog was cool with her dog. So they like played a little bit, and then her friend
she starts off by saying white people are so dense.
Pulls up, and we start talking about my dog. She's a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois. And she's like, oh yeah, like all the dogs that protect like the president are Malinois. And then I start talking about how like trainers end up being super racist, and they are racist, and then it perpetuates a stereotype of my dog that like she doesn't fuck with black and brown people, which is the opposite. I literally told them, I was like, I trained her to not like white people.
Wait, what?
The woman with the dogs like laughed at because it's hilarious. But anyways, surprised though, she was also white. But I was like, yeah, the trainers are like a little bit like the trainers are racist, and she was like, towards other dogs. I was like, no, against like black and brown people. Like they train dogs to bite them and hold on to them and latch onto them. which is a huge fucking problem.
She doesn't
Like,
know
yeah,
that they're
I've never heard
colorblind,
it
does
before.
she?
And I was like, well, yeah, you're white.
Well, hold on.
So
It's not
That's
a
basically
bridge.
Hold on.
That's kind of the gist.
So first of all, let me just
yeah.
respond real quick, because they see in shades of blue and I believe yellow. But with that being said, dogs can clearly discern between black and white people. With that being said, the dog is trained to bite the perp regardless of the color of their skin or what's between their legs. If you scream and you run, the dog's gonna bite you. It doesn't matter what color you are. Person's an absolute moron. The second thing is, why would you train a dog to be racist towards anyone, you fucking idiot? What happens if you die and someone needs to take care of that dog? Fuck you. The only person that suffers is the dog. Go fuck yourself. That's my response.
How much more effort do you have to exert to be like? It's the Peter Griffin meme.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
fucking
Yes.
It's like
It's just retarded.
okay.
I knew it. I saw this when I got home. I was sitting at my counter. This is going to trigger Scott so hard.
It did.
It did. Okay. And in my next video clip, here is the queen herself. She is. Let's see. That's Palestine. Let's do this here. Let's do this one more, and then we'll talk about it. Screen.
A lot of dogs end up not liking black people because they are raised around a lot of white people, by the way. So dogs kind of like, back in the day when they had the Xbox Connect One thing that kind of like could tell the shape of your balls and stuff and would help it like use the biometrics to log you into your Xbox account. That's kind of how a dog's functioning, So the dog just goes friendly, not friendly. It's using like almost a biometric reader, and part of that biometric reading is skin tone. For example, the dogs in Iraq, right? The dogs that deploy with the military, they are able to kind of know friend from foe because people in the countries that our military has been deployed into in the Middle East, like Afghanistan and Iraq, they have a different diet than most Americans do in the country. So they're eating a lot of different types of spices and different types of food. They don't shower in the same way. They use different kinds of deodorizers and whatnot, right? So the dogs are actually trained to pick up on this. Now, there's probably someone listening to this like, that guy's totally wrong. But no, the dogs are able to discern friend from foe based on a variation of biometric readings, including skin tone, and blah, blah, blah. So she's not entirely wrong, but it's just stupid nonsense. If it's just stupid. I'm sorry. It's so dumb. Anyway, let's hear this idiot talk.
Hey, just before you press play.
Hey, did you see Joyful? You see Joyful? I meant to tell you, Ethan, look at Joyful.
Hey, there it is. Again. There it is.
I thought the whole time I didn't even recognize it, and Ethan goes, she keeps saying Joy. And I'm like, oh, do we need to check on Joy Reid? Is she okay?
Good
and he goes, and
Cisco?
Ethan's like, no, that's, dude, I know. He's like, no, that's just all she's been saying, like her whole campaign. And I'm like, oh, really? And then I pull this up, and I'm like, oh, shit, it says we are joyful.
Bitch, about what?
You think you got something to say before I hit play?
There's nothing joyful about Eau Claire, Wisconsin at 2:40 p.m. with 3:40 p.m. my time. The fuck out
Based.
All right. Here we go. Here's a presidential candidate talking about how we're going to stop inflation.
Right now, she looks like she just shit her pants.
Here we go.
Because while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries.
What is this lady smoking?
You know it, and I know it. When I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, it will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices. I will take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging. I will take...
Sounds like dictator bullshit. Sounds like she wants to be a dictator on day one, man.
Yeah, dude. It sounds like she wants to be a socialist almost, dude. It sounds like she wants to...
All price gouging is elite level capitalism. Don't do that.
it's just what has happened, which Scott has tormented me with this word, and I'm going to say it out loud on this microphone.
Here it comes.
That is, I hate it. I hate it with every ounce of my being.
Begins with an M.
Market economics. But I've had to really
Why
learn
did they
a lot
wait to price gouge now? Why didn't they why isn't they charge like 1,000,000% during the 90s? Like it's anyway, what were you going to say, Darren? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I was just going to say that because they printed $7 trillion out of nowhere, which made our currency pretty much defunct. And then we didn't go to work and they paid people to stay home, didn't make them pay rent. So they started spending their money on MacBooks and TVs. And that's why everything costs so much.
I benefited from that shit. I ain't going to hold you.
Everyone did.
But, yeah.
And here's the other thing is that a lot of people spent it on like pudding cups. You know, they spent it on consumable goods.
Well, here's another
nothing
thing
there anymore.
Here's another thing too is so a lot of my deliveries usually are in the country, like to farmers, dairy cows and other farms. And the whole thing is, you know, with the Green New Deal jacking the price of gas up. So do you know how much a gallon of diesel costs? It's like people just think like, oh, they're just raising the price of wheat or whatever. It's like, no. The price of diesel has gone incredibly high, and it costs so much money for these farmers barely to make even by just sowing and plowing their fields. You know, it's like,
how do you think the wheat gets to the fucking store? How do you think it gets turned into bread, you moron?
Dave Smith says this all the time. He's like, these people think that it just comes from a grocery store. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's the whole thing. Like today I was going back and forth with another one of our reply people, and he was saying that he's like, well, it's because Wall Street did this. And I'm like, well, if, you know, whatever you want to think about Wall Street, the fact is COVID messed up the supply. It's just such a simple, and, you know, I didn't bring your name into it because you're the one that really opened my eyes, but it's like
radicalized.
It's like, yeah, that's a great book, by the way. I'm like, it's just basic supply and demand. The supply was not there. The demand stayed the same. So they raised the price of the stuff they had. And then the supply slowly came back, but the demand kept. So we're still here. We're still like this.
Well, here's another analogy. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you own a house. Okay. And this is fundamentally what the government's doing and how inflation is created. I've been talking to a couple of friends recently and they're like, oh, what the hell is, you know, how does inflation happen and what is it? And it's this weird, it's very hard to understand, right? But I'll just use this simple analogy to try to make a point here. I'm false equivalizing or whatever, but yeah, fuck you, by the way. Anyway, so
we're not live, so you can say whatever you want.
Well, yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
So okay.
So hold on, let's say I'm going to cut this part out. But Ethan, my mom was like, "We really like the back and forth between you and Scott, but he says fucking retard a lot, and we just can't keep watching when he says F and retard."
I say retard a lot too.
Yeah, but when we're live, and so I told Scott. Scott was so nice. Scott's like, "Oh, dude." So the next time he's like, "You know, I've turned over a new leaf." Listen, anyway, so go ahead.
That middle finger was for someone saying you were doing a false equivalency. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so let's say you own a house and you need some capital. Okay, so let's say your house is worth the value of your house. Okay, the price and value are obviously two different things. Let's say the value of your house is $300,000. Okay, you get a mortgage for this house. And the interest rates and paying over 30 years, you end up paying like, let's say $500,000 for this house. Okay. So the price of the house is $500,000. The value of the house is $300,000. Now you're 15 years into paying your mortgage down. You've paid maybe $100,000 of that $500,000. I don't know. The math's going to get all fucking weird. Don't quote me on the math. Okay. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Just go with me. Okay. So you're $100,000 into your $500,000 mortgage payment and you need some capital to fix your roof. Okay. You need to fix the roof. You need to do the fence. You need to resod your yard. You need to repave your driveway. You got to do a whole bunch of shit. You need like $150,000 to do this. Okay. Or the mortgage lender the insurance company isn't going to keep insuring your mortgage. Sorry, I got the hiccups. They're not going to keep insuring your mortgage and blah, blah, blah. You got to do all this shit to keep the insurance on your mortgage. Okay. So you take a reverse mortgage loan out on your house. It's worth $300,000. You need $150,000. You take an additional $150,000 out on this loan. Now you at face value $650,000. The loan itself is probably in the $700,000 to $750,000 range, and the price of the house is $350,000. That's what someone would buy it for, or they'd buy it for $400,000, maybe, right? So you owe $750,000 on a $400,000 house. That's $350,000 negative. That is what the federal government did. But instead, they spent all
markup, by the way.
Yes.
Massive. Yes.
They spent all the money on consumable goods. They gave it to people to buy fucking shit from Amazon and whatever dumb crap they always wanted to do. And the federal government did that with all of our savings, with all of the money in the system, with everyone's assets. And if you owned crap before all this happened, you're incredibly rich. And if you didn't own anything, you never will now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how inflation
And that's the thing is they can't, when she's like, we're going to fix this. It's like, it is going to be drastic and painful to fix this. And there's only one way. I mean, I'm sure there's several ways. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't just like, and that's what the person, our one reply guy was like, he's like, this price gouging. And I'm like, oh buddy, I've been down this route with someone that I really do care about and listen to. It is not price gouging. I mean, truly, you can go look on it on the FacePlace. I was like, no. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I was like, no, it's not. This is what it is. This is the reason it's like this.
Well, you got to understand that these people look at the world through a command system. They think that the government just like is supposed to control literally every facet of your life. So
yeah,
you got to realize that they're like, well, why do prices go up? The government didn't like say they could.
I was like,
why would they go up? Yeah, it's like
saying? I was
they
the
go
one
up
that was
because
like,
because they can. If you ask for a raise at work, does that mean you're greedy?
No.
So why can't a business charge more money for their shit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I said, that was my response. Like, well, if you just want prices of cars to go down, we all at the same time need to stop buying vehicles. All of us for like a year. No one buy a vehicle. The supply will be super high. They're going to look to get rid of it, and then they'll sell it for cheap.
The only viable solution is consumer responsibility. Market forces, everyone understanding how markets work and making responsible choices. That's it. They got to pay their debts. You got to spend your money paying your credit card off, not buying more crap on the credit card. That is the only way. The government has to do it. Individuals have to do it. Corporations have to do it.
Yeah, but you're getting lectures from a government who doesn't do it,
mm-hmm.
and that's the problem with for me too. And I don't even think it's going to, $1.6 trillion in interest alone. So that's our entire. That's all of what they collect in taxes. That's what it's going to be.
I think we spend like $100,000 a minute or something, or 500.
That's
Thomas Massey has a pin on his jacket. Have you seen him at all? Ever? Have you ever heard of Thomas Massey? He's a congressperson and from Kentucky.
I know he is, yeah.
Yeah, he's as libertarian as we're gonna get. It's like him and Rand Paul and Justin Amash lost, by the way, to that FBI guy. Anyway, so he
$218 million an hour.
What?
We spend $3.6 million a minute. The federal government spends $3.6 million a minute. 24/7. 365
days a year.
I don't want to know what that dollar amount is a year. That's a big
it's 5.
Scott's going to tell you.
$5.2 billion per day. That's a lot of 365 times.
Yeah, it's going to be 5.2.
A lot. $1.8 trillion.
Yeah.
That's just spending on.
Well, he wears on his lapel. He wears a live. It's somehow connected by some form of slut magic. I don't know what it's connected to, but it has an update to the national debt.
I apologize. It's 6.85 million per minute. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
And so it's like he says he walks in office and people are like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's the debt, and it's still climbing. It changes." Like he said, he'll be talking to people that come in his office, and they'll be like, "Oh, what's on your pin? It just changed numbers." Like, "Oh, that's how much we owe. That's our national debt. Just change numbers every 16 seconds." But yeah, I don't see where my whole thing is, especially on the internet or like my presence on Facebook or Twitter, is like I just can't stand the hypocrisy. And I just the problem right now is we're getting the left slammed down our throats so bad that that's all I'm seeing. It's like all I'm seeing, and I can't. It's so hard for me to digest and then come up with like a good, because Trump is the reason that we are kind of here. He did print $7 trillion. He did shut the country down.
He gave them permission, dude. That's the worst part, is that he gave them permission to act like idiots,
Yep.
And now they can go, well, Donald Trump did it. It's the same
That's
thing with the corporate bailouts, the bank bailouts. George Bush started all that nonsense. He started the omnibus spending bills. Barack Obama voted for it in the Senate, I believe, but he went in further past massive amounts of omnibus spending bills as well. And Obama bailed the banks out, if I remember correctly, again, after he was elected president. But the justification that was used was that George Bush had basically started the process. So Republicans don't get a pass, They're just as hypocritical. They're just as stupid.
I say that all the time. Like, my one response when that person popped in again, and I said, "Oh God, not you again." Is there a hotline you can call? Or like if you need therapy to figure out.
Isn't there a cream for you?
Yeah,
isn't there like can't you take Valtrex to get rid of you or something?
Yeah, your therapist needs to help you find and pinpoint the exact time where you knew you got Stockholm syndrome. Like these people have lied to you. And just like, Ethan always, when me and Ethan will go back and forth, and I mean, right off the rip, when Trump went to Chicago, it's like, dude, I had the same feeling he did when it's like a room full of black people. This dude is such an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, but then it's like when I heard about it, I'm like, no way, what an idiot. And then I heard him say some stuff like, of course they chop it up wrong. And I'm like, no, dude, you can't say stuff like that. And then you watch the interview and it's like,
I watched all of it.
Did you?
And I was okay with 95% of what he did.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's the three chicks on stage, right? The one all the way to the right, he did an interview with like 2 weeks prior to that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And the one in the middle was like kind of indifferent or in the middle, but the one closest to him, the one he had beef with, like he walks out and like, well, we're on a limited time. He goes, "It's your fault because your shit didn't work." It's like,
dude, that was like, so based. That was so based. Yeah, when he's like, that's the most hostile question anyone's ever asked me. He's like, "You're 30 minutes late. Your stuff doesn't work. Where's my opponent?"
Yeah, the only thing he's guilty of is not answering direct questions. But then again, if you're watching him ever, he doesn't answer direct questions.
Yeah,
the ones that don't favor him, at least, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right too. But especially in a situation like that, where it's like, dude, anybody going into a situation where it's like just a dogfight, like completely hostile, they had no interest in hearing anything he had to say.
No,
he did. No. I thought it was kind of funny when he said he like looked around. He's like, "There's a lot of black journalists in here." That probably it's like the whole room was black journalists, but he's like, "There's several black journalists here." The whole room did laugh. It's like
it was basically the equivalent of a dude with a yarmulke walking into a Palestinian social.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I wrote a question. I sent it to Scott a little bit ago, but it's like if Kamala walked into a room full of Republicans, or just even black Republicans, right? A room full of black Republicans. And this is the question. I said, here's the question for Kamala, only based upon Trump's question. We so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room. I kind of went by her script a little bit. The elephant in the room, ma'am. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Donald Trump to Senator J.D. Vance, saying that he is a threat to democracy. You have imprisoned thousands of black men for victimless crimes when you're a DA in California. In fact, you stayed some of their sentences for actual labor. Most people called it slave labor. The president, of which you support, wrote a bill that was signed into law requiring mandatory minimums regarding crack cocaine. He wrote that with a known segregationist and racist named Strom Thurmond. His son was caught smoking crack and spending over $800,000 on hookers and didn't spend a minute in prison. People also claim that you slept your way to the top. With all that being said, how can you guarantee that you know what you're doing, and how would you make a solid president? And why should black people vote for you?
Ethan, go first.
You know the crazy thing about that. The crazy thing about this scenario is that it would be worse if she walked into a room full of black Republicans versus white ones. It
True.
honestly would be, because you have you have a segment of niggas tap dancing for one group of people, and you got another nigga that's just tap dancing. Whoever chooses to tap dance, and
we'll fix this so people don't.
That's not gonna end well for her, because at least if you go into a room full of white Republicans, she can account for that. Black correspondent, I like that. That's fun. It's really like her in a room full of black Republicans. Like, it's the Spider-Man pointing me. It's literally.
Well, what do you think the same is? Like, what do you think the okay? So, like, the room that Trump walked in, what would be the same room? Kamala?
Are all black Republicans tap dancing? It's a serious question. No, it's a serious question. I hope you understand what I'm asking.
So, no. It depends on.
You mean figuratively?
So, if you go strictly based on policy, it's not tap dancing.
Okay.
But if you go on acceptance of the people that dictate the policy, it is tap dancing, because a lot of them do that. So I don't ever hold that against somebody. Like, I have a good friend of mine who is a black Republican that will tell you out loud in front of everybody. He does it on the internet every day, right? Because he values the fundamentals of what Republicans are supposed to stand for, right? Small government, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
But everyone's go-to about him is, oh, well, you're a fucking Sambo because you don't go vote for the party that acts like they care about you, but they actually don't. Like, there's a misconception that every brown person walks out of the womb and has to vote for Democrats, which that's not a thing. But there's a lot of those guys that will look for acceptance from those people, and like, I don't know if any of you are versed in Kanye West's lyrics. This is
little.
One of the greatest things he's ever said. He said, okay. What did he say? For that paper, look how low you'll stoop, even if you're in a Benz, just still a nigga in a coupe. That's some real shit. And that's not saying that all Republicans are racist, but like, at the end of the day, like, there's a bunch of people going, I just go tell you, boss, to Strom Thurmond because they want to vote Republican.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, Scott, no, but yes.
Okay.
You know, and the thing too, I think some of the black vote are like kind of waking up. I was listening to a what's his name? He's a
basically you're saying if they're doing it for if they're doing it for to be part of something, then it's tap dancing.
Yeah, if you genuinely believe the basis of the party, cool, that's great. But if you're trying to gain acceptance to maybe be a guy that's in a room with a guy, no.
Sure.
But I mean, that can be said for almost.
So it's like all the politicians, but I get Ethan's point.
Yeah, for
real
sure.
Quick, I want to respond to your thing about Kamala. If you drop the part about sleeping to the top, I'm in agreement with it. I don't think that's an appropriate line of attack. You know, it could be. It could be. It is true. Okay, it is true. It is. We know that she was banging Willie Brown or whatever, and I just don't think it's an appropriate line of attack or one that's productive, because while it may be true, it really puts us into a frame that I think Ethan's actually discussing right now, where it opens up Republicans to be attacked as sexists or attacked as these like chauvinist kind of like, oh, would you say that about a man? You know what I'm saying? I don't get me wrong.
The only reason it was in that question was because I was just trying to be as vitrilistic as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Just clarifying.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I was not.
Everything else though is super based and legit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see how. Anyway, I just don't see how she survives the next couple of weeks as a candidate. There's obviously people that are locked in, you know, full lock, stock, and barrel. I'm voting for Kamala no matter what. But this election is about the normies. This election is about the people that are going to watch the TV for 20 minutes and then walk into the voting booth. Because everyone's either locked in and know who Trump is. They know he's the grabber by the pussy guy, pardon my French. They know he's the guy who, you know, kids in cages and whatever, you know, they're vermin and the bad people and the nice people, all that bullshit. Everyone already knows all that nonsense. He's the most famous human being on the planet. No one's mind's going to be changed. And everyone voting for Kamala straight off the bat is full blown. This is so stunning and brave and the first and the most incredible thing to ever fucking happen in the world. But what you really got to win is the people in the middle, black, white, yellow, whatever the hell they are, who are like, I want normalcy again, or I want something to return to life being fucking normal. So, and I don't think she's gonna be able to do that with this old socialist moron. It's my 2 cents.
So 6 cents. What Scott just said is perfect, because in my line of work, I always teach anyone, like I get paid to teach people how to sell shit, right? Anyone in sales understands there's this thing called the law of thirds. 33% of people will buy whatever you want. 33% of people will never buy anything you tell them to buy. The magic is in the middle 33.
Yes.
That's where that's the money. That's where you win.
Well, that's where the messaging from both sides is so strange, right? Because it's like, I know where you were saying about the attack, not attacking her preferences and coming to the top, like Vivek, right? So Vivek's message is just like that. I mean, but the thing is, will he do it? Will he get back in the center where he should be? I don't know. We're talking about Trump. Huh? Trump.
He's talking about Trump. Yeah. Will Trump move to the middle?
If someone can,
that's what I'm saying. So me and Scott like Vivek, right? Or I don't speak for Scott, but I do
he's
like,
pretty cool.
Yeah. Of all the people that were out there, he was, gonna cut the government by, what was it, 7%. He was talking about all this stuff that I really, really agree with. And then he kind of got on the Trump train, but he was like the voice of reason on the Trump train. And it's like, Scott had this idea, a couple of episodes ago where it's like, I'm like, we got to talk policy. And Scott's like, dude, nobody cares about policy. And you come to find out in that week and a half, like, yeah, he's right. Like, I'm this guy who, like, I want to, but I always think that like people in the middle, which I'm not always right about, because there's not a lot of people, I am me, but who care about policy. They care about, like, Scott his whole point was like, we need to just be like Kamala is. If he wants to win, he needs to be pressing his face down on the fact that Kamala was just not democratically elected, that there's just these simple things, just very simple things they need to put out. And that's what Vivek was saying. Like, let's not attack her in this way. Like, how with the end of that question that I had posed to Kamala.
Capture the momentum. Capture the narrative.
That's right.
Demoralize the center. Make them think that they're being forced to vote for her. That is the way you win.
I agree. And
but will they be able to do it?
Well, I would also like the general consensus. A lot of the general consensus is she needs to go get black vote. If I was Trump and them, I'd be like, hey, remember that time she put all you niggas in jail?
Yeah.
I just don't think coming from Trump, I don't think that will land.
Well,
don't get me wrong. Coming from Ethan, hell yeah. But what I'm saying, if Trump gets out there and says that, they're going to be like, he's racist.
Yes. Well, in anything, he just
right.
What's his tagline? His tagline's got to be like, I'm for everyone.
Right. He's got to get out there and be like,
it's a black privilege thing.
Yeah.
That was his main. That's the thing he always.
Well, I just pulled up. Listen, I pulled up a poll from. I'm not letting you use my location, by the way.
If he just gets on there and he says, "I'm running for everyone," even if you're a liberal, I want to get at the table and talk to you. Everyone will be represented by this government.
Right.
She is done. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I want to get
she's
a
out there like,
libertarian.
Half of them are freaking terrorists. Just get out. All Trump has to do is say, yeah, the party leaders are crazy, but all you party members, all you lemmings, I'm here for you guys too. I will put liberals in my cabinet. I will put Democrats in my cabinet, and he's done. Like, it's done. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get so passionate.
That's what that's what he should do. Especially like he needs a
And he needs should do it realistically. He should do it realistically.
Yes. I just heard that it was on Tim Pool this morning. That's what they were saying.
Oh, but wow. Man, I should be on Tim Pool. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's exactly what their message was. It was Hannah Claire was saying like, no, what they need to do is they need to like get someone like an RFK and put him somewhere very important. and they're like, well, RFK, you know, of course, Tim's like super, I would say
I can't stand him.
He is way too, he says he's a centrist, but I feel like he's way too right. And some of his takes, I remember I had to like not follow his podcast for a while because it was just too much. But some of his panelists are interesting. But Hannah Claire, that's what she said, which I totally agree with. It's like, call RFK, have RFK be part, like say, hey, listen, there's a huge spot for you. You're not that you're not going to win, but like, I'm just saying, I'll put you some. Where do you want to go? Like, I want to work with
RFK.
you. And
get like
and
a
Pool's
like
I think he's just too progressive. And Hannah Claire's like, that's the point. That's the point, is you bring people together.
Like this government should not popular Democrat too. Like I don't even know him well enough, but
yeah, like Ron Paul.
Yeah, totally. Get some kind of left-leaning Democrat that thought COVID was great. Even I don't fucking know. Just someone who disagrees. Like, why do we do this thing where you win and we just stack the government with full-blown partisans for the party that won? That is not democracy. That's not republicanism.
How about
fucking
this
fascism?
Andy Yang, economic advisor.
Sure, do it. Hell yeah. Let's do it.
That's what I'm saying, dude, right?
Yes.
I'm down.
Just not Cory Booker.
Yeah, just anybody Cory Booker.
I hate that dude.
Listen, the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse got his nuts dragged.
You were bringing up a poll first. You brought up a poll. What's the poll? And then we'll
the poll. This was from, unfortunately, this is June 27th. It's on Newsweek too.
It's the 7th today.
Yeah, of August. But it was the 27th, yeah, June. But it's like Trump wins 30% of black vote in shocking poll. And it's like, I see all these videos of people when they go down to they'll go down to the hood, be like, who you voting for? They're like, hell no, we're not. This is back when Biden was running. Trump, bring back Trump. And then everyone's like, wait, what? Really? Yeah, Trump. I was good. I was better 4 years ago than I am right now.
I know a lot. I know a few. So I know a few black guys that are truck drivers, and a couple of black business owners, and they're vehemently, actively like, Trump was better for me, ABC, and I think that if you look at today versus 4 years ago, from a monetary standpoint, which that's a foundation of a lot of people's happiness and decides their lives, it's like, yes, monetarily we were better off 4 years ago.
Yeah. I think if this, sorry, don't go ahead. Sorry.
The thing is, I can't fault anyone for looking out for number one, which is themselves, right? So given the sample size we've had of 3.5 years, to their point, like, and given the fact that name a Democratic candidate that did anything for black people, don't hold your breath because you'll die.
Yeah.
I understand the sentiment. Outside of the outliers about Trump and the things that makes him him, but like, if you look at brass tacks of like, how is my life going to look and my quality of life, it's kind of hard to argue against it.
Yes, I agree.
And just because you say you're black, so you gotta hate Trump automatically.
I think that's what, Ethan, when you and me go back and forth sometimes, like, dude, this is pandering season. It's like they're out there, everybody. They'll use. You remember you were like, they just got black people back. They're just waving. You know what I'm saying? He brings like black people on stage and veterans on stage. It's like, dude, I know, because they just think it's like, if you're a veteran, you're voting for this. If you're this, you vote for this. It's like, well, why don't we just vote for like the people who are the best?
Yeah, but here's the difference.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I would have said that they paid them niggas to do that shit. Can you really say that they're not actually serious at this point? Based on what was and what could be? Like, we already saw what was. We have an unknown with that and her. Versus, can we get back to where we were? Like, it was a kind of an inside joke, but not really. So, like, are those people up there because they're paid, or they're up there from their own volition? I would probably lean towards the second one at this point. What do you have to?
I would too. I for sure would too.
Disclaimer, that's not me saying I'm voting for Trump, but I'm just saying, like, anyone with eyes and a memory longer than 3.5 years can see what was and what is.
Yeah, we should be unburdened by what could have been. Yeah,
Nonsense.
I'm 100% with you.
I agree with Ethan.
I agree with Ethan on that for sure. Because it's like, I think a lot of people, they don't want you to think that, but I think a lot of people have woken up. And I'm not, that doesn't put anyone on this panel or anybody here in a Republican or Democrat party. It just has woken us up to, like, they're generally speaking working for the same cabal. That's just my opinion. And we're just hoping for the best. And you just want to put the right person up there. And the more people tell you you're racist or you're a bigot, it's like, Dave Smith said this thing on Candace Owens. It was yesterday. I listened to it today. I don't know when he was on there, but he's like, Candace Owens, when she went viral and got in all this trouble. She wouldn't get in trouble. People just were all over her because she said, really, just killing babies in Palestine is like a really bad thing. And then the internet jumped on her, right? And Dave Smith says,
how was that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So Dave Smith's like, okay, so listen to this. He said, Tucker Carlson says this thing. He's like, when a touched wound, like, people shake from it. He's like, you got to investigate. Like, you got to investigate more. Like, why are they jumping? Because I genocide is a universal. I thought we were all on board. Genocide is bad. But then Candace Owens says, like, I don't really hope this isn't a genocide. And if it is, I really hope it's not, or whatever. And she gets jumped on. Michael Rubin jumped all over her. And it's like, that's what he's saying. He's like, it's interesting when you touch something like that and then people go like, oh, that's a problem. It's like, we got to figure out why that's a problem now. And I think, to your point, especially with, like, people sitting up there with Trump or with Kamala, I think I would probably say less with Kamala, because I feel like different people standing up there with Trump is real. I think it's kind of a message, a personal message. Like, okay, well, I'm not afraid to be up here. Like, this is how I feel.
Trump should offer a position in his cabinet. Seriously.
Yeah. Supreme Chancellor.
I don't know. Give her something, but just be like, hey, if I win, you still get to be in my cabinet.
Drugs up.
Absolutely.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Based.
Yeah, dude. But
Rittenhouse.
Anyway, so the last thing I want to talk about was Kyle Rittenhouse, and so I don't know
That's
if you.
That's why I was mad, by the way, that you showed me that JD Vance clip, because I was like, I got all fucking mad. Like, are you kidding me? You're attacking Rittenhouse?
I couldn't.
He's the dude that did all the stuff. Like the guy who.
And he's like 20. Isn't he 21 now? Or
he's
20?
A little kid.
He's a kid still. He was 17 when that whole thing happened. Yeah. And the pictures came out of him lying on the back. He waited till the last very second to, like, pop off before he started trying to defend himself.
He was being chased by a mob of morons.
By a skateboard. Yeah. Anyway, I don't understand when he met Dave Smith. You obviously heard that episode with Clint.
Yes.
Yeah. When that whole conversation was so good, when he's like, so Clint actually got to talk to Kyle Rittenhouse, and he was like, dude, what made you do that? And he's like, I met Ron Paul, and he's just everything. He's like everything I agree with. He's like, there's nothing he says that I don't agree with.
As a 2008 evangelist of Ron Paul, I totally get what Rittenhouse was going through, where I'm just like, I remember, like I said many, many times on this show, I heard Ron Paul say, if heroin was legal, would you do heroin?
Would you do it?
My entire worldview changed instantly. I was like, of course I wouldn't do heroin. And then I'm like, why? I guess why wouldn't I? Oh my God. Like, I don't need the government to tell me to do stuff. Oh my God. Like, I get it. I get why Rittenhouse was.
And he's 21 too. So you remember, right?
And
you remember being young.
I was like 20, or 19.
And it's like, so he puts that picture out on Facebook and he's like, listen, Trump isn't good on 2A, which he really wasn't.
He's not. No.
No, at all. And he's like, listen,
take the guns and due process next. That's literally what he's. Anyway, sorry.
That's right. Yes, the bump stocks. And he put that picture out on Twitter and was like, hey, listen, I'm going to write in Ron Paul. He's great on 2A and Trump is not. And it's like, that 2A is so important to that one kid for a very, very good reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, that's it. That's his whole, like, his not who he is, but that's what saved his life. And blah blah blah. Whoa.
Let's hear. I want to hear Ethan's point of view.
Yeah, I do too.
He got sent on a dummy mission. He should never have been there.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
There's
agree
no
with that.
disagreement there.
So, like,
Nope.
if you look at everything for what it is, if you're looking at it for the situation he found himself in, and forget the end result, because people are celebrating that he shot that guy for what he did in his life. Like, he was a child molester, or whatever, right? Or
Well, he's
whatever.
pointing a gun at him. That's why he shot him.
Sure.
Oh, which one are we talking about? There was three people that got shot.
Yeah, 3 people got shot.
One of them was a child molester, and people
that's the guy with the skateboard,
right?
Yeah.
So, in that situation, like, because you have to compartmentalize, like, the facets that led to the thing is, like, in that situation, yeah, he had to do that. He should have never been there.
Yeah,
a minor child.
That argument is, that's like saying the chick deserved to be raped because her dress was too short. You know, she should have never been there. She shouldn't have been down that alleyway. I mean, yes, he shouldn't have been there, but he had a crowd of people who were literally saying, "Kill him," chasing him. What do you think of what they're going to play patty cake when they catch him?
Oh no, I'm not mad at that part. I'm just trying to figure out why
he should have not. And that was the last thing they said too in this podcast. Ethan,
why some adults allowed him to go there in the first.
That's a very That's what, and that's the interesting part is that's exactly what. So
I mean, I was 17. I did shit my parents didn't know about.
Yeah, but
you can own a gun at 16.
I did too, but I didn't shoot 3 guys.
Yeah,
I
didn't go to a place.
We didn't live through the BLM riots. You know? I mean, that was 2020 was the most confusing year in this country's history. One of them, at least. Like, think back to the times people were all, like, nothing to do for like 6 months, told to stay inside, told that like this horrible government and all this shit was going on, and you were just. I just remember all that nonsense and getting caught up in it too. I wouldn't have gone there. That's fucking stupid on his part. But
yeah, and that's what they said. The last part,
those people.
The last part of that whole podcast was them being like, "I'm just saying, I would not be letting my kid go down there, and I do not advocate to putting yourself in a situation like that." You know, like that was the whole thing.
There were protests in Columbus during all of that.
Oh, was it really?
Where that shit went left a couple times too.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about like not courthouse, but State House downtown.
Yeah.
And things progressed from peaceful to not so much to tear gas to guys with riot vests and shields and shit. And who's the instigator? Because I can tell you that the Ohio National Guard wasn't down there, so it was Columbus Police.
Sure.
They weren't running around hitting people with shields like they were playing on shipment Call of Duty. Like, that's not what that was.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying he was put in a pretty extraordinary situation. He shouldn't have been there.
I'm not mad at him for defending himself, but when I was 17, I left like when I was 17, I went to a Wu-Tang concert in Pennsylvania my parents didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's a fact, right?
I mean, there is obviously a big difference.
He was there protecting his friend's parents' business, if I remember correctly. So
he was there protecting friends' property, right? Like they had storefronts, or whatever.
So he didn't go there to fucking kill people.
And then the other problem too, I don't mean to cut you off, Scott, is he was drugged through the absolute mud after it happened, called a racist, and I mean, he sued CNN.
Did he actually shoot any black guys though?
No.
Well, no, that's what the report was. That's what the first report was. He specifically went down there to like
kill black people. I think that's what it was. And then it comes out he didn't shoot. There was no black. I can't remember. It changed, like it was one black person. Then it was no black people. Then it was like he killed unarmed men. And then it turns out when they got to the courtroom and the evidence came up, like no, he didn't just shoot unarmed. There was no unarmed men. He got hit with a skateboard. A guy put a gun in his face. We all knew this. Yeah,
and
Gage put a gun in his face.
Gage walked himself. That lawyer was like, "So you had a gun?" And he's like, yeah. He had to he lied the whole time.
And he's a convicted felon. He was a felon carrying a gun. Right there. Yeah. I'm just saying, like the first guy he shot and killed was like a schizophrenic dude who was actually harassing him. You know, he was like running around with a fire extinguisher trying to put dumpster fires out, and this dude was like actually harassing him, actually threatening him with violence. And then when he got Rittenhouse alone, and that's when the first guy got killed. We have all this on camera. Then the crowd started chasing him and screaming, "Kill him and get him," and all this shit. I mean, I think he actually showed a lot of restraint after the mob started coming after him.
Oh no, he did, because if that was, I'd start dumping on everybody.
Yeah, I would turn around and empty the clip.
Saying, like, it's unfortunate that he went down. He shouldn't. Like, I understand, but like, you shouldn't be calling us. I don't know. I get.
Like he did better than me, because I would have started dumping on anything moving around towards me. Every person.
Yeah.
It's like the example I was giving. Like, remember the Rodney King and then the LA riots?
I wasn't alive, but I've seen it.
The guy they pulled out, Reginald Denny,
truck driver.
Yeah, that was awful.
I'd have ran all them niggas over. You ain't pulling me out of something.
Yeah, I mean, put it in reverse.
Nope.
You know?
Nope. Y'all all got to go.
I just didn't like. I guess.
Did they kill him?
Circling. Yeah.
No, he survived.
Oh, he did.
Okay. Yeah.
Reginald Denny survived. Yeah.
There was a picture of some truck driver laying on the. Yeah, he looks like he was dead.
They pulled him out, beat the shit out of him, and hit him with a brick. And he survived it. I'd have written, bro. All them niggas would have been gone.
I would have been the rooftop Koreans. You see the Koreans with the Mac 10s on the roof? That would have been me.
Absolutely right, dude.
Yeah, they hit Reginald Denny with a brick. And then they celebrated.
But he had permanent brain damage, though. Yeah.
Yeah, they fucked him up.
Yeah. I guess my point
collectivism is the lowest form of
he got drug over them.
We're getting some over. I don't know if we're back to normal here. Can you hear me, Darren?
Yeah.
I just slightly delayed. Okay, so all I was going to say is that collectivism is like one of the lowest forms of human intelligence, and it's what you see birds and shit doing. You know, like, we're supposed to be self-aware, divine creatures, if you will, and we should be able to transcend collectivism in any form. That's white supremacy. That's the fuck. What was that? That's white supremacy. That's like, you know, black nationalism. That's whatever kind of like nonsense you want to collectivize your decision making around. I just think we need to move beyond that stuff. I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist or prejudice doesn't exist or some nonsense like that, but we shouldn't be moving our society towards more of that. That is like not the solution whatsoever. And all of this is intertwined here. You got intellectual collectivism, where you're back to Rittenhouse and Ron Paul. Oh, you went against the orange man, so now you're excommunicated from society. Like, you should have been convicted and all this.
That's the craziest part. It's such a turnoff, dude. It's like, it's so wild. It's like, okay, so
think for yourself.
That's what I'm saying. This kid, his big thing is 2A. He's 21 years old. He's like, 2A is my big. He speaks to Ron Paul. He's like, holy cow, this guy Trump has not been great on 2A. This guy has got it. I'm gonna write his name in. And instead of like Trump or them being like, well, what can we do? What's the solution here? They're just like, well, then I guess I'm not showing up for you. It's like, dude.
Well,
and then he had to change his mind. I mean, which is, I don't know.
To Scott's point, though, collectionism leads to absolutism.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a mob mentality. It's either you're here or there, and it's either get down or lay down. So what side of the line do you want to be on? So,
and I say, let's pause. Let's think about things. Let's use our brains. Let's use the thing that we've been blessed with to make conscious decisions. You know,
I agree.
It's rare.
And if you don't have, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
It's cool, man. I'm just saying we were blessed with evolution or God or whatever the hell you want to call it. Whatever the way you get to it is, we've been blessed with free choice. We've been blessed with the ability to not just react to things, but to make conscious choices. And I think that anything else is just animal thinking, you know?
I agree.
I completely agree. Yeah, 1,000%.
I agree, but unfortunately, a lot of people are conditioned to default to one side of the aisle or the other. and that dictates the way they think. And
Well, I think
react.
that's so identitarian is the big. That's all of it, right? It's like, because you're black, you vote Democrat. It's like, no, you vote Democrat because there's a good candidate, or it's like hardworking people vote for Republicans. It's like, no, that's not like, just use your brain, just like Scott's saying, like use your brain.
I've voted Republican on certain things and certain candidates. Like, I don't have a genetic predisposition, but like, I just vote for the Democrats, boss. I just like the fucking damn donkey. Like, I don't do that. Like, because like, they say you vote for the lesser of the two evils in some instances, and I think that a lot of this election is probably going to be chalked to that, unfortunately. But
dude,
who is the best human that's running for the office? Forget who their political affiliation is. Like, who's going to do better?
Yeah. Like, and that's not what they've made it. Whoever they are, I always say they have made it as divisive as humanly possible.
We know who that is.
Well, then we can call them the cabal, but
the deep state.
Yeah, the deep state, whatever. Sure. Yes.
The unelected bureaucracy.
That's right.
The unelected
and me and Scott
bureaucracy.
always talk about this, because it's like people just call. I mean, there are people out there that think I'm on the right, and they think Scott is an actual fascist. Yeah. And it's like
based on what though?
My haircut.
Okay.
I've known Scott for 100. Stop. I've known Scott for 120 business minutes, and I've never thought he was fascist. Ever.
Well, he's got a Hitler Youth haircut, so that's just what
I got to kind of do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
do it.
No. It doesn't have the side part. That's
true. That is true. No, but I mean, it's all because of stuff he's like. It's not even a far right thing. He's just saying like what he sees. He's not taking sides. He's just saying like, this is crazy. And they're just like, well, I won't come on your show because he's too far right. It's like he's not too far right. He's actually left center. I would say that me and him are both kind of.
I think two dudes should be able to bang each other if they want to. Is that fascism?
So they're looking.
That's fascist, dude.
Wait,
hold on.
So they're
dirty gay fascist.
So they're expecting the My Sixth Sense podcast to be an echo chamber.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's exactly what he's talking about. Scott was talking about early in the podcast when he's like, "Listen,
I mean, I think it's kind of gross, but they should be able to do it."
Yeah, there you go, dude. Dirty gay fascist.
Yeah, like I'm not. So you can do it. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, dude. It's just a dirty gay fascist, dude.
Oh my god.
My god.
Your AIDS test isn't transformative. Like, it doesn't work here. Sorry.
Anybody got anything before we wrap this up?
That's a great. Oh my god. All I wanted to say was that if I've said this before, but if we were to get a economically minded Democrat, someone who acknowledges that inequality is a problem, that income inequality, racial inequality, we need to protect minorities, we need to protect the weak, we need to protect the poor, we need to protect the elderly, we need to use the power of society or government or whatever, collectivism, if you will, to solve problems. But they were open to doing this in a different way, right? If they were open to going, okay, a majority of black people are in poverty, right? A majority of black people have a really shitty go at things. And this may be indicative of a white supremacist structure. This may be indicative of systemic racism. But how do we actually solve this problem? How do we make sound economic and social decisions that lead to solutions? How do we do that? I would vote for that Democrat. I would 100% vote for them. I'd campaign for them. You know what I'm saying? But instead they go, how do we steal people's shit to give it to other people? How do we perpetuate a problem that's existed for fucking 80 years? Like, let's just do the same shit over and over. I'm like, no. So my point, and the same thing with Republicans, they're fucking dumb. Like, why? Let's like actually do something that works, and let's actually look at problems and create solutions. I will vote for whoever the hell is talking about doing that. I am a libertarian through and through. I think the government is evil. There is no good government. It is a collection. It's a gang. It's a collection of people that point a gun at you and say, give me your crap. That's the government. But I know I exist in a society in which people don't believe that shit. So I will vote for whoever is trying to give actual solutions. Okay. I wanted to end it on that because my point, obviously we're not ending it yet, but I just wanted to end this conversation on the fact that we need to work together to build solutions, not just perpetuate problems, and not just go, that guy's racist, or she's she sucked a guy's dick 30 years ago or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Let's figure out how to fix this shit and stop calling everyone a goddamn terrorist. It's stupid. It's not doing anything good. Anyway, I digress. What the fuck do you guys think?
The same.
So the
5-minute rant.
The first part of the diatribe that you went on, Darren asked me that question the first time I was on here, and it's like socioeconomic discrimination is the thing that needs to be solved for everyone that's not a white guy to not be in the situation that they're in, right? There's a perpetual cycle of single mom has a kid by a useless guy. There's no dad. He grows up. He goes find some other niggas that don't have dads. They do crime. Rinse and repeat, right?
Sad.
You erase that, and I don't want like DEI, like
decriminalize drugs.
There's another thing that they brought up about DEI, like when Kamala Harris with Trump and the thing, right? I think that affirmative action was cool when it was needed, but not now.
Based.
I want people to have the same opportunities to things from an access standpoint, not like you get handed a thing, and if you're not good enough at it, someone will save you from it and you'll prosper, whatever, right? I just want people to have the same access to opportunity. Now, what you do with the opportunity, that's on you, because if you operate under the delusion that these white people will do better versus these black people that do better just because they're inherently black or white, that's not true.
What do we call that, by the way? What do we call
Go
that?
ahead.
Begins with an R.
Ends with an acist.
So, but like, I want all the people that don't have the opportunities now to have the same opportunities, because you never know what's going to materialize.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
like forget the systemic racism thing. We can talk about that another day, but like, I want everyone to have the same access to opportunity. Now, what you choose to do with that, that's on you, right? And I always tell the story, like, I have a bunch of friends that are single parent moms, not dads. And I have a mother and a father. I have brown skin. My parents are still married, and I can call my dad right now. I know where that nigga is right now. And I even can tell you what he's doing. Right? And I've had countless opportunities to become a productive, successful human in society based on that. Forget my skin tone. That right there. I had a mother and I had a father that said, hey, nigga, you probably shouldn't do that because you're going to go to jail. And I can't save you from that. Oh, by the way, here's a blueprint to success so you can not follow it, but you can use it as a reference. And I'm pretty good at life. I'm not going to lie, right? I want everyone else that looks like me to have that same opportunity regardless of whether or not they have two parents. That's it.
Do you think, let me ask you a follow-up question here, because do you think that it's possible without the two parents? Do you like I get what you're saying. I get, but to me, it's fundamentally has to start with doing what we can to keep black men out of jail for things that are not violent crimes, right? That aren't de-powering the state to like, the basis of what you're saying is giving the government a stick that lets them target a specific group of people. To me, the solution is to take that stick away, you know?
Well, I think
Sorry.
that group of people needlessly perpetuate the stereotype because they don't want to accept that there's something different. Here's the difference, though. I had a guy look at me and say, "This is how this is how you become a man. This is how you act. This is what you strive for, and this is what you do. Not this shit, but you do this shit. Oh, by the way, every mistake that you've been on the wrong side of that I made, don't make those because you've already seen it in action. And when you get older and you say you become successful, and success is relative, right? Pass that on to people that don't know. Like,
Let's bring back the black nuclear family.
Yeah, like, I don't have kids, right? I have 53 of them when I go to work. So, and they're all not the same looking, the same acting, the same feeling, but every ounce of adult failure that I've experienced in the 41 years I've been alive, I pass it on to them so they don't potentially encounter that, right?
Yeah.
But for me to sit here and say that my life would be the same without having a father that was like, "Hey, bruh, don't do that," or "Hey, this is what's going to happen," I'd be lying if I said my life would be the same if I didn't have him. Because I see the other side of it. Like, I know people that didn't have the same opportunities or even the same family structure, that they're in jail, they're on parole, they can't get jobs. They're destined for this down here instead of this up here because they don't know any better. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of that has to do with just like kind of like what Scott's saying. Like, I mean, I believe that mandatory minimums had a lot to do with that. I think crack cocaine had a lot to do with that. I think victimless crime, selling weed had a lot to do with that. But, it's interesting. You find a lot of these black family advocates that like go on shows like Dr. Phil or stuff like that. They really do speak truth. They're just like, back when we grew up, I'll have to find the video. We can watch it next time. But it's an old guy. He's probably in his late 70s. And he's like, there was a man and a woman in a home, or, a husband and wife. They had two parents. We don't have to say whatever. Be two dads, two moms, doesn't matter, right? But two parents in the home. He's like, you could walk down the street without your thought of anybody getting shot by anybody.
Yeah. He's
like, that's just how it used to be. And until we start taking responsibility for the fact that, that's a huge problem in our community. But I think what Scott is saying, I agree, is like, there is a giant stick the government is using to wield to knock that nuclear family out. And it's like, obviously there's some extremist thoughts about that, but I have a friend of mine who I worked up at the other place I work, and he works with kids and tries to keep them out of gangs in Charlotte. And I always talk to him just like I talk to everybody, but I was just like, help me understand this whole thing. What's the solution? It's like, well, there is a perpetual, just like you said, just a circle, just a circle jerk, where the more kids you have, the more assistance you get from the government. If the man lives at home, then you don't get the assistance from the government. The woman has to ask the man to leave. The man can just go about his business. She can hopefully sometimes collect, child support, sometimes not, but she gets all this government money. And from birth, pretty much, he's like, my mom taught me that, like, hey, the more kids you have, the more money you get. And it's like, until we break that cycle, until we figure that out, like, these people he's like, it doesn't even matter, because black and white people down in that area where I'm in are in the same spot. But he's like, that's the circle jerk that's happening and they can't get out of it. And it's like, we got to figure out, and whether that's better. Like, my thought was always like, you need to have like community. This is going to be I'm going to make this short, but because I have to get off. But I was always thinking, like, if you had police officers that it took 6 months for them, 7 months, a year to become a police officer, and their whole goal was to just go in the community, befriend everyone. You know what I'm saying? Have training, meet the elders, meet everyone in that community. Don't have any type of, because right now you get people who just need a paycheck become police officers. I have so many thoughts on that we can get into at a later date. But as for
this should be the topic of the next thing we do. All three of us
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
100%.
As for Scott's 5-minute rant that he knows I'd agree with every single bit of it, I agree with every single thing that Scott said in that rant. And have a good night.
Let's do this again soon. And seriously, let's talk about this, Ethan.
Yes, hold on. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to end it. I need you guys. Hold on. Stay, but don't do that.